You see them, boys and girls? You know what that means. See her? I think you do. Bam. There she is. All purty and shoo. Alright guys, what do you think? I think I did pretty good. What you are looking at is a 1986 Kawasaki ZL600, aka the Eliminator. Picked this girl up. Well, actually, they brought her to me. Hi. Picked her up yesterday evening. Rode it a little bit. Absolutely love this thing. Done got it kind of warm. It's still pretty warm, so I'll go ahead and check this out. Guys, she is mean. See about opening these up, but it's a 4-cylinder. Old girl sounds like a ripper. Brakes need to put some fluid in them. But the guy that I got it off of, maybe, I'm not sure if it was him or not. But just like usual, the threads are absolute trash. Or the head, the bit. I've done took it for a ride. The fan works, wonderful. Low beam, works. High beam, works. Got a nice little dash on the headlight here. Right turn, right turn, right turn, left turn, blinking, blinking, horn works. It's got a spot right here for a 12 volt. I don't know if that's plugged up or not. USB spot, that's pretty cool. I want to switch these out. I don't like this blue, these grips. But guys, she runs fantastic. I'm not sure why the speedo don't work, but it's in kilometers. So kilometers anyway. Might just take that off. Go ahead and shut her off real quick. See, I've rode this thing quite a bit. Oh, another thing. Ta-da! We got my mom bought this here beauty. Brute Force 650 had a little tear in the seat, so she handed me some T-Rex tape and said hit at it, so we got that covered. But as you've seen, the tack works good. I might try to get like a gauge so that it all reads off of one. Still not sure yet. Get like a cell phone mount to get a speedo. Might do that, don't know yet. But absolutely in love with this bike. Clutch is really stiff, but it's you can shift 2 fingers no problem. Seems like a brand new headlight. Halogen Koito Halogen H4. The horn, it works, but it's kind of sad. Might get a better horn for her. But yeah, what do you guys think? I'm in love. I love this thing so much. Favorite thing I've ever done. Best thing, best investment. Unfortunately, KDX is gone, but I was thinking in my head for a very long time, let's just go ahead and ditch the 2-stroke life and go 4-stroke again. I just couldn't find a deal for like a KX 250F, which was really what I wanted. Anything from like a 07 to like a 2010 or 11, something that would be more affordable, not necessarily very affordable, but ended up not being the case. There was like a 250F for like $2,600 and then another one for like $3,000, and that was just not what I could do, because all I had was a KDX to work off of. My buddy was supposed to buy the KDX for $15,000. I know that's like a little on the higher end, but a stock KDX goes for like $1,420 or $1,460 on the new, like a good one in good condition. The KDX wasn't in like very good condition. It had paint, like it was spray painted and it was flaking off, but it had a pipe on it. It had V-Force 3 reeds. I mean, it was souped up, even though it wasn't an extremely nice or fancy bike. It had a lot of fast parts on it. Let's see about what it takes. I bet you it's going to be spot welded or something. But I'm looking for options. I want some pipes. I want to make this thing run, or make it a little louder, and get the front brakes. I mean, they do work. but you have to, right about there, like right whenever it's almost smashing your finger, it starts to slow down. But all in all, I love this thing. Now my plan is to hook up to here, maybe if I can't get those out, and put a hose on it and backfeed the master cylinder. So get brake fluid all the way up to here, and then crack this, and then without any shooting bubbles, run fluid reverse. But I mean, the lock works. I'm not sure what that does. I guess that's a park, or maybe security system. I don't know. I have to read in on that, but I love this thing. It is absolutely everything I've wanted, and it is just perfect. So it's surreal, guys, because I've wanted this for years, even way before I got the KDX. Whenever I first had the blue TTR, Holly, I think that's what her name was, I wanted something like this, and I almost had that opportunity, but Dad was still nervous. I was new to motorcycles altogether, so he kind of told me. I actually had a deal set out with the guy. I had the TTR, and my brother was getting one of his Jeep motors rebuilt or replaced and swapped in, and the guy was talking about his aunt having a Suzuki GS 250 or GZ. I think it's GS. Anyway, the 250 kind of bike like this, just a cruiser type bike, and he said that she was kind of afraid of it. It was more bike than she had ever been on. She was a beginner bike rider, and the power from the 250, the GS 250, scared her. And I told him, I said, well, I have a KDX 200 or a TTR 125L, and that's I told him, I said, it's like a very, very good beginner bike. And he said, well, I'll let her know. And he said she will more than likely do a trade, just straight up, bike for bike. And I said, sweet, let's make it happen. Then Dad looked at me and he said, you can't get that bike. And it hurt, but I know he was just looking out for me. Then I had traded the blue bike for a 02, I think it was, or maybe a little bit newer, the CR85. I don't even know if I named that piece of junk. And I don't know if I had a deal for trading it off for something like this or not. But then I had traded the CR for the KDX, and I had an offer probably 8 or 9 months ago, maybe a little longer. I had the bike about a year, so yeah, it's been about 10-12 months. I've been riding it for a while. I was used to it, normal. I mean, I was pretty good at it. And a guy had a Ninja 250, like an 89 or 96 or something like that, like an older one. And I know I didn't like how it looked, but if it was going to get me into the street legal gang, I was all for it. Dad said, "Sorry, can't get it. I don't want you on a street bike." So I was again upset. Actually, no. Before the 250 Ninja, I found a bobber, like a V-Star bobber project. It needed a harness or something, and he told me again, "I don't want you on a street bike." I would ask him intermittently. I would ask him like, "Hey, what do you think about a street or a motorcycle, like a cruiser bike now?" And he was like, "Nah, I don't like it. Makes me nervous." So there again, kinda it hurt and I was upset, but you know, I moved on. Oh, excuse me. Then I got the Ninja 250. Told me again no, and we were at Camp Creek. It's a little fishing hole, really good spot. About an hour and a half, 2 hours from me. This thing might be going there in a few days. Shh. Took it. My buddy called me and he said, "Hey, you want to sell the KDX?" And he said, "I'll give you $950 for it." I said, "Well, I can't do that because I want to be able to, you know, get another bike. I want to be able to get a 4-stroke, something rideable, 2 wheels, maybe 4, but more. I wanted 2 more than 4." So he said $1,000 is tops will go. So I started looking on Facebook. Didn't really find anything. I told him, I said, "Buddy, there's just nothing for the price range that I could get and kind of like flip the money for a bike kind of quick." And then he messaged me that night, I think, or maybe the next night. He said, "Would you take $1,500 for the KDX?" So I started looking, and I come across this baby, and the guy was asking $1,600 for it, and I knew pretty well that if I go up and say, "Hey, would you take $1,500 for it?" that they would more than likely say yes. And if not, then I had some stuff that I was going to throw in to kind of sweeten the deal. And I talked to him and I asked him if he'd take 15, and he said he had a trade pending, but didn't know, wasn't sure if it was going to go through or not, but he would let me know. And I told him, I said, "Well, I appreciate it, but if it doesn't go through, I want to be the very next person with a chance to get this. My buddy's supposed to be buying my dirt bike, and I want dibs to buy the bike." And he said, "You got it." So a couple of days later, or well, like a day and a half or 2 days later, he said, "Trade didn't go through. It's all yours whenever you get the money." And I said, "All right, I'm gonna try to get a date from my buddy on when he'll be able to get me the money." And I messaged him and I said, "Hey man, when are you gonna be able to get the money?" And he said, they told me that I couldn't buy it for that much, and he had already bought a Baja 125 dirt bike, so I told him, I said, you know, that's fine. I was really upset again because this bike was beautiful from pictures. This is the only scuff I've found, was right here. But I was very upset, like sad, not mad. I was just tore up because I figured, man, that opportunity's gone again. I'm not gonna be able to get me a cruiser bike for a very long time. Then I thought, well, the worst he can do is tell me no. So I pitched the idea to the guy with the bike. I said, hey, I've got this 96 KDX 200. The guy didn't buy it. He couldn't. So I'm going to give it, I wanted to know, you know, I can throw in a bow for it. I can, you know, give you a little bit of boot. I said, but I really, really want the bike. And he said, I told him, I said, it'll come with the stock pipe, a ton of jets, an extra set of wheels and tires or rims, another sprocket, like a one tooth down or two sprocket for more torque. Well, I figured, man, I sent him pictures of the bike. I figured, man, the paint's kind of messed up, flaky. He's probably going to turn me down. But I figured, you know, you never know until you try it. And then the next message was, I'll trade the bike. And my heart went through the roof and out my hind end at the same time. I was so excited and nervous at the same time. I really honestly couldn't believe it because it was something that I'd been trying for so long to get. I went in whenever Cameron, well, my buddy, his name is Cameron, whenever he first offered $15 for the bike, the KDX, I was going to take it, and I went in there and found this bike, the Eliminator 600. Went in there and told Dad, because, you know, he was the factor. I could have had one of these bikes a long time ago if it had been, or if he would have, you know, not told me no. But so I went in and I told him, I said, big things are fixing to happen. He said, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, I've just got done talking to Cameron, and I said, and he offered me $15 for the bike. Said, and I found a 1986 Kawasaki Eliminator on Marketplace. And he said, well, what's an Eliminator? And my heart kind of started getting a little bit heavy and sad. I figured, man, as soon as I tell him it's a street legal bike, he's going to say no. I told him it's a cruiser, like a Harley Sportster. He said, like a street bike? And I said, no, not a street bike, because in my head, a street bike is like a Gixxer or a Ninja or you know, like a CBR, or FZ, kind of, or not FZ, the R6, R1s, and R3s and stuff like that. So I thought, man, as soon as I tell him, he's going to shut me down. I told him it's not a street bike, so I said, well, I'll just show you. And he said, well, that to me is a street bike. He means it's street legal, not a street bike. Like, and actually on Motorsport, because I was looking up for the speedometer in a mile per hour, that this thing is registered, labeled as a cruiser. I looked up street bike. I typed in street bike 1986. This was not there. I clicked on cruiser 86. Bam, there she was. ZL600 Eliminator. So it is a cruiser bike. It is not considered any sort of street bike, although it is street legal. So I told him it would be a good work vehicle where it's warm, it's warming up. can always just buy a rain waterproof jacket to ride in the rain if it happens. You know, I've rode in the rain on the KDX before. Just as long as you got gloves and stuff, it's not terrible bad. You know, it's the only thing I can turn the KDX into that's street legal. I couldn't find a vehicle worth anything that like a four-wheel drive, because that's what we need. I didn't want to waste an opportunity getting a car and get a car whenever in no time at all it'll be snowing again. And snow in here, like West Virginia, it can either be no snow at all or it can snow 3 feet. So cars, ground clearance, and it's just not a good idea, especially whenever you're not sure if there's going to be jobs at that time whenever it starts to snow and you're stuck with a car. But well, I know you're probably thinking, well, I mean, at least if you have a car, you can go out in the snow. You can't go out in the snow on a bike. I understand that, but the condition that this bike is in, for what I got out of it versus what I would spend on a car for the same price, would be an absolute beater. It would not last around here. Potholes would tear it to pieces, and you are going to die. So that's the reason I got a $1,500 trade and $1,500 in a motorcycle versus $1,500 in a car. Very, very big difference. So I decided I'll go with the bike, and if I'm working then, I should be able to have some form of a vehicle other than this, or if not, you know, I got the Durango or something, you know. I mean, there's options, but I wanted a bike, probably just telling myself that a car would be terrible and awful and all that just because I wanted a bike. But that's okay, because I wanted a bike and I love this thing. I do not regret buying this at all. Not even an inkling. This is the best thing I've ever bought. I love this thing. You know, just go ahead and it's just phenomenal. This thing is amazing. But yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this thing. And I'm pretty sure you guys will too. It is going to be going on some trips. That is for sure. It's got 2-person, but I just don't know about taking anybody on it quite yet. At least not a bigger full-size person, just because I'm not used to the steering and leaning of this thing quite yet. I'm getting better at it. I need to find a tire recommendation that doesn't have a lot of tilt, like lean steer, because whenever you start going around curves in this thing, the front end, whenever you lean, the tread on the side wants to pull the steering wheel over. That's something I wasn't used to with the KDX. Didn't do that. So I was a little bit nervous at first because it's a 600 and it's heavy, and that was the thing that had worried me the most about these kind of bikes. I sat on a Gixxer 600, excuse me, and it was so heavy. I thought, man, this thing, if it starts to tip over, you're down. But this thing's lower, but probably just as heavy, maybe even heavier. Get off my motorcycle. So that had me kind of worried, was weight, and it's not that bad. I mean, you can definitely feel it whenever you're turning it around. If it starts to lean over, it gets pretty heavy. But manageable, yes, it is very manageable. I turn it around right here in this stuff and have no problems. Just a fantastic bike. I absolutely love it. And probably not in this video. This is just like the reveal, like, hey guys, look what I've got. And next video will probably be a ride. Next video you see this in will be a ride at least. Might not be the very next. Where'd the bee go? Oh, there he is down there twitching. Very next video might not be a riding video of this, like I said, but there will be some riding videos soon. This thing runs like a top. It's fantastic. I love it. So yeah, I mean, couldn't be any happier, I do not believe. And if I could, it would be very hard. So yeah, I mean, let me know what you guys think. I freaking love this thing. I need to get rid of these super bike, because I love this bike. It is super to me, but I do not think it qualifies as a super bike. So I'm gonna go ahead and end off this video here. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Later.